Here's a super quick explanation of Leetcode problem 1706, where will the ball fall? The description and the code are in the links below. The key is to use the values of 1 and -1 for the walls as to just tell you where the ball is going, and then you check for holes. So we're going to go row by row and see how that works. So to start, I already have the balls 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they also they tell us where the ball is. So index 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Ball 1, you notice its first cell has a value of 1, so do 0 plus 1, that's 1. For ball 1, it goes 1 plus 1, which is 2. For ball 2, it would be 2 plus 1, which is 3. But if you notice, at 2, we have a hole, and the way we know a hole is if the direction you go in if you sum those two values, if it's equal to 0. So 1 plus -1 is 0, so that's a hole, so we make that -1. Ball 3, it'd be 3 and -1, which normally would have been 2, but again, because it's a hole, because 1 plus -1 is equal to 0, we set that equal to -1. And for ball 4, the value here is -1, so it just moves down to 3. All right, so now we go to the next row, so we use these values here. So now for ball 1, we look at cell or index 1, so it'd be 1 plus 1, which would be 2. Now the next one, here we have 2. At row 2, it would be 2 plus 1, which would be 3. But if you notice right here, it's a hole because 1 plus -1, the value right next to it, forms 0. So this becomes -1. And then for all of these balls here, since it was already -1, it stays at -1, 1. And then we go to ball 4. So we look at cell number 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. It's a -1. So ball 4 normally would be a 2. But again, we look at the values here. Because in the direction it's going in, the next cell, it sums to 0. -1 plus 1 is 0. This becomes -1. And then we just keep going. So the only ball we really care about now is ball 0. Everything else is -1s, but we have 2. So again, we look at this row at index 2, 0, 1, 2. And notice here it is a -1, so we do 2 plus -1 is equal to 1. And then now we go to the next row, and we look at cell 1, 0, 1. So it's plus 1, so we go 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. And then we do the last row at 0, 1, 2. It's a -1, so it becomes 2 minus 1, which is -1. And the rest of these are -1. Oops. Becomes 1. The rest of these are -1. And that's the solution.